Alright, hello, and I guess welcome to this video, which I feel like is pretty unique, but we're going to be seeing the Russians from our world, but what if they were in the WICSO? Because usually, it's the other way around, because often we see like blah blah blah, the purple team in the real world, West Africa, I have like those little videos, but we're going to be seeing Russia from our world, actually, if they were in this Adizz Pro WICSO. Now, the only thing that I also want to say before the video starts is to please do like and subscribe, because this map took me quite a long time, and hopefully I'm going to be doing more episodes or videos like this, because we are getting close. Actually, no, we're not, but our goal is 300 subscribers, and hopefully 500 by the end of the year, but we're going fairly fast, so I think that we can actually do it pretty confidently, so that's all I want to say, but now I think we can get into the video. So obviously, just like it would be for us, for these guys, it's very confusing. How did such a big country just pop out of nowhere? Like, we had the old Russia, but they were like smaller, and there's obviously a lot of confusion, and that's going to definitely be something, because obviously you have lots of relations between countries, blah blah blah. The Fourth World War has just ended not too long ago, so a lot of countries are still rebuilding, like the purple team right here. Because also, if I did have to rank these guys, they would definitely be, I would say, in top 3, probably, because I know obviously these guys are weak, but they do have, I guess just because of the amount of countries that they have. It's because they just have so many countries under of what they have. I guess that just kind of makes them pretty strong, especially from like this area right here. With this, it doesn't take long for some countries to instantly act up, because obviously we see China right here quickly, I guess, take these little lands. I don't know what if they actually will. Oh, I also forgot to mention, this is a war scenario. So diplomacy, that stuff, it's not going to be too crazy. It's just going to be a fun war scenario. So some countries are probably just going to do stuff that they normally wouldn't. Because, like, I don't know if China would really do this, but I guess it is free land. So we're going to pretend like they would. So now they are looking like that. And of course, Russia is going to sweep up anything that has kind of been left untaken. Like, for example, these guys right here, they are no more. They are now Russian. And just like that, these guys have been taken over, as well as these guys, they've also been very crippled. So they're also basically just I mean, they were also just in general after the war. So I don't think this helped out very much. Same with the, I don't even know that that's not classified as a country anyway. So they no, they're just gone. And this is eventually what we are left with everything else, with all the other countries. They're still somewhat sustainable, I guess you could say. Like, maybe these guys, they'd probably barely be okay. Did I miss something? I think I did. So as I said, they're just going to start sweeping through a couple of countries. Like, for example, these guys right here, they're not going to have a very fun time, obviously. They're just going to get swept through. Like, it's not even close. So they get their capital taken, and these guys just get overrun extremely quickly. With, of course, them being fully annexed by the Russians, as well as everything else. And now, obviously, these guys, they're going to be rapidly expanding, and obviously some countries are not going to be very happy with that. But also, we can take a little look at Europe, where we see Poland's capital literally on the border of Kaliningrad, which is part of Russia. So these guys are going to make the smart decision, move their capital away from that, and put it in a brand new place, which would be about to their second largest city, which I'm going to pretend, I'm going to say right here. Let's pretend this is it. There we go. So let's pretend that's the brand new capital, because obviously, probably not the best thing for these guys. And obviously, with this horrific thing that is here, a lot of people are scared. And obviously down here, the same thing is going to happen, because these guys are going to have the same fate as that country earlier, where they're just going to be completely swept through and ragdolled as if it's not even close. Because, I mean, the Russians, they're definitely a very strong country right now. Probably easy, like I said, I think top 3, I would say, just with how many countries they have. But also, then again, that would mean that their technology isn't that high. Like, it would probably be comparable to, like, these guys right here, like the purple team, or maybe even a little lower. So, yeah, they might just barely be top 3 then. So it's probably going to be closer to stuff like, that's actually kind of interesting to think about, but we're not going to go too into depth with that, because we got to look at more war scenarios, because that's what's interesting. So obviously these guys, they just kind of thicken up this border right here, and obviously, I guess their goal could be to just bring back the Soviet Union or something like that, or the Russian Empire. Oh, if we can't do that, too much age of history. Because I mean, Alaska, it's its own country. They're not too strong, so that could be another target. But before anything else does happen, they also decide to do another quick sweep through, obviously, little poor Estonia right here. So these guys are like basically the same color. So I'm just gonna fill them in as if they don't exist. They are now Russian. Pretend like they were invaded because they're practically the same color. So now, obviously, a lot of countries are getting a little worried that such a threat right here is rapidly expanding. But also, what kind of starts drawing the line is obviously this Caucasus country, like Armenia, Georgia. It kind of looks like Georgia, I guess. I guess kind of because of the shape, but basically, once these guys begin to invade them, it becomes a little less okay for everyone because obviously these guys right here, they are a former old empire country, and these guys, they are all very united, and this does not sit right for a lot of people. So once these guys are very quickly invaded because they, again, aren't too strong, they will also be fully annexed, which is very little worrying. I just realized these guys are like the same color. I'm very glad I made border. I mean, I like how it looks. I don't know about your guys' opinion. I like how it looks with borders. So I'm also kind of glad that I did that, so we can at least tell the difference. So with this, especially countries like the blue and red team, they are not happy about this. So with this, they will make an alliance to kind of deter, I guess, Russia away from all those like dangers that it could be posing. So basically, with this, we can see all of these countries, basically most of the countries that border Russia right now, decide to join this alliance, which, and I mean, obviously, Russia, they're a little cranky about it. They're not too happy that they now have this little anti-alliance, I guess, coalition in a way, to basically deter the Russians from expanding more. But obviously, not everyone joined, so they're going to just continue rapidly doing this, where they just kind of, at this point, start asking, like, okay, become a part of Russia. And obviously, some countries, they know they don't stand a single chance, so will apparently not join. What is happening? There we go. And so obviously the countries, they don't really want to deal with that because now they've swept through, I guess, most of the weak ones, and apparently not Estonia. How did Estonia come back to life? Are they just that unpleased by being Russian? I'm probably. So I guess they, I guess they really don't want to be Russian, but no, they must stay Russian. So basically, these guys, they're looking quite chunky right now, and I guess they're just gonna probably keep expanding. I guess everywhere they still can, because they could definitely probably take on the square lines for now, I think. But obviously, it would be costly, and who knows who else might join, like China, for example. They probably wouldn't be too happy on those guys. So we also see them start a very quick invasion. So yeah, like I said, they will start a very quick invasion, very quickly capturing the capital, because obviously this country is a little stronger, so it will take them a little longer, but they will just eventually set up a whole front right here, and slowly and steadily just start to completely capitulate these guys until they eventually just decide to surrender. So basically right here, actually, what we're going to be seeing is something a little different. Unlike before where they annex all the lands, actually, what they're going to do is actually give some of it to Tibet because they obviously want an ally, because right now, not many countries want to be Russia's friend for, I guess, their expansion, which any expansionist country in this would. But basically, with this, they decide to give Tibet this area to hopefully improve relations, which is correct, because from what I remember, this will be very sad if I get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure these guys kind of cut relations with China, from what I understand. If anything, they're closer with India, but India probably isn't a big fan. But with this land, let's pretend like they are now becoming good old buds. So now they're obviously a lot closer and are probably now close, if not allies. So in case something happens to one of them, you try to help out one of them. But with this, we also see that more and more countries begin to join this alliance. So yeah, basically we see the square lines expand a little more with Ukraine, I guess, or Crimea. I guess I'm now looking more like Ukraine, and then East Ukraine, I guess. They will also be joining this union right here. But also, here's the thing: since they are good buds, they are going to officially make an alliance with, I guess, Tibet with their brand new Circle Alliance. So now we can see the Circle Alliance right here. with obviously now combating the Square Alliance, which obviously this is a recipe for disaster. I don't know what else to tell you, and everyone knows it. So Russia will also hopefully begin to look for more allies to help them out. Probably inevitable conflict, but until then, they will keep expanding to hopefully get stronger and just have more stuff to do. Because obviously, right now, I'm pretty sure every country that they border besides their island. Well. Isn't it your very unlucky day? Because we have East Korea right here, I guess. They are here in the wrong place in the wrong time. So, I think it's safe so you guys know what's going to happen. And they're just going to completely start decimating these guys. They're definitely stronger than most countries, so obviously Russia is going to struggle a little, but again, they've definitely been building up their stuff, and see, I found the fix to this, so it doesn't look as ugly anymore. So basically, like I was saying, they're going to struggle slightly more, but again, no problem for the Russians, because again, the reason they are so strong is just because they have probably so much people, and I guess just due to this, probably quite a bit of economy, so they could eventually obviously build up on lots of stuff, especially even cutting this part off. So while they may not be the most technologically advanced, they're definitely working towards it, since they definitely have just a bunch of money and people that they could use for that cause. So once they're kind of able to split these guys into two, it's kind of starting to be wraps, and these guys know it. So hopefully, so they still survive, they decide to quickly surrender. Now, since these guys did kind of surrender early, Russia didn't annex on all the land, and instead they just decide to make it a small puppet state, because, like, who cares? It's basically the same thing. They just have this area right here, all under their control right now. And obviously, countries like China, they are very, very not happy with this. But they are trying to, again, stay neutral as much as possible. I mean, hey, they stayed out all of World War IV, so their goal is to stay out of this, but they really are not liking all the expansion from Russia, especially on their doorstep right here. More and more members are also joining this square team. For example, the Greeks, which are a fairly strong nation, also have decided to join this. We can kind of see that it's not going too well for these guys. So that is why these guys, mostly Russia right here, they're looking for an opportunity, someone to help them. Well, that is why someone who is getting a little paranoid with a lot of countries, we have Rome. While they may be in a financial crisis, that is very much true, they are still a very powerful country when it comes to their military. And they've been paranoid from most of the democratic nations to also jump them like they did with, I guess, these guys right here. So obviously they will take this alliance in hopes of, I guess, eradicating or getting rid of some of the democratic nations and putting a communist world into it right now. So with this, even though it may only be 3 members, these guys are very, very scary, because you would have, I guess, a top probably 3-4 power. If I were to guess, I didn't really look into it too much. We have, I guess, it would be bumped down. So this would be a top 6 power, and we would also have Tibet, which is a fairly strong country. So obviously this is scaring people more and more. So basically, as we see, this alliance has definitely become something, and with this, I guess they have a new little goal. Because obviously they could go for Finland, but then they are good old pals with Norway, which is a very strong country. So, with their only options, I guess, being, what the fuck is this? Ah, yes, Korea. How did I forget that? We have Korea, which is a very good option. We have China right here. What do we have else? We have obviously the ones that are, well, besides the ones that are in an alliance, we have Poland, which is a fairly powerful nation, but, oh, look at this. These guys also decide to join the Square Alliance. It's also because, well, if we take a look at this, Rome right here, they're kind of known for betraying and whatever they think does best for their country. And the Poles right here, they kind of felt a little betrayed from that. So that is another reason why they joined this alliance as well. And so obviously, besides these guys, we got one more little country right here. Yeah, a little surprising, but these guys, they have definitely plenty of resources, but will it hurt to get some more? So, for that reason, Russia, since, I mean, you can't really see it right here, because I kind of got rid of it, but is this very likely? No. But they, nevertheless, will start a campaign against Alaska. Quickly, obviously, I mean, they don't really stand a chance, so you can almost feel bad for these guys. But obviously, again, these guys are not a very powerful country, and also, I mean, he lives up here, so these guys, they don't even send that many forces. They just quickly take over this area with relative ease, and they begin to slowly make their way down into these more populated areas until they finally get around right here, and then they agree that this is just enough. They only needed some extra land, hopefully for some more resources like oil. And so with this, we can also see the northern parts of Alaska quickly go to the Russians, but obviously the really important parts, they do stay part of, I guess, Alaska, because this is where most of their population is, especially down here. But this definitely pisses off a lot of countries, and I mean a lot, because they're way over here. Like, oh, come on, you got better options. So with this, a lot of countries are not very happy with this, and therefore we will be seeing a lot more members joining this alliance, which they were kind of hoping no one else kind of would. And with this, we also do see, of course, Norway and Finland joining the alliance, which that's kind of a bit of an issue, if I'm going to be honest, if they had to say, because these guys, especially Norway, are fairly powerful. So this is kind of the tipping point. They see more and more countries are going to join. That's not very good. So how about we get rid of them? So that is why, with the unanimous decision of all three nations, they all decide it is time to declare war. And now, obviously, you can't say that they weren't expecting it. This has been planned for a long time. This is the entire point of the alliance, for them to just be able to automatically start barging into this country. But of troops, especially from Russia, coming a lot from Kaliningrad as well, they will all be rushing into these Polish areas right here with, I guess, little to no issue with, I mean, lots of resistance, but they will be held off. Try to remember everything right here. They will also begin a large invasion of these guys in this area right here, very close to Crimea right now. But they will struggle a lot. Okay, you can't really see that. Hold on. They will also be struggling, though, a lot with Finland, but they do get some pushes in there. This is the main front right now, but there's also obviously this issue right here. But luckily for these guys, it is being taken care of by Tibet right here, because these countries are fairly weak. So Tibet will have not that much issue just kind of starting to steamroll through these countries, with the first one right here falling fairly quickly. But also Russia will have to help, obviously, to have a bit of an easier time. But they will send some troops, mostly in. So they do have some areas that they begin to just kind of push into, as well as this right here, which they very quickly capture this capital. And this country does begin to capitulate fairly quickly right here. So no more of these guys. It is looking a little messy, though. I don't know. So yeah, these guys, they're also going to start an invasion. While they don't fully get rid of these guys, they do get a fairly large push into these guys, getting them all the way up into these areas right here. But now we obviously have to look back here, because they obviously still have a very powerful military that is not to be messed with, and these guys are going to be testing it. So obviously the purple team, very powerful. They're going to make a large push here and a small one into these areas right over here. So obviously these guys, they're going to make their little push right here. So the purple team looking pretty good, but also with a very large collective force, we will also be seeing these guys, the Polish, and of course with the help of the Ukrainians and West Ukraine, I guess, they will all be able to help to make this large front right here, which Russia obviously does not like at all. And obviously we will also be seeing an invasion coming from Finland, actually. They will be finally able to get some of this stuff with a lot, and I mean a lot of help from Norway. They will be able to get all of these lands. Not that, though, because this part honestly wasn't that well defended, so it did fall fairly easily, and that's where we see the front line starting to look something like this. But there is also obviously the problem of the people. They don't want the war. They did stay out of the coalition of the willing, and they have a little bitter taste coming back from World War IV. So there's a lot of stuff starting to stir up in Norway, and people are not very happy about that. So with lots of months of fighting, obviously, and lots of their own men dying, and I guess many people, they will decide that it's just not worth it. They are going to leave this alliance. They think, well, the people think it's not worth it, and fairly so. So before they lose anything, they decide it is best if they just leave. So obviously this is a very interesting looking front line, but we also see with, I guess, kind of the very large push here in the beginning, Crimea will very quickly, or yes, I'll just call it Ukraine. They very do quickly, that's not English, they decide to quickly fall, and they actually surrender fairly quickly once their capital has been captured. So these guys, they surrender. They don't want to do this no more. And this kind of leaves not the best stuff going, because obviously they will also start their own invasion into the Farmers Union right here, because they will get pretty far into these areas, capturing all of the east side, because they also have been fairly crippled by the coalition of the willing. And these guys, I'm not going to say anything. They just get steamrolled. But this is where the real fighting happens. Because obviously the old empire and the blue team, they are definitely very strong. But then again, so is Russia. So these two, I guess I'll have to color it slightly differently. So basically, not the old empire, as much as I'd want to say that. The red team and the blue team working together will be able to push into these regions until they get to the mounds right here, which would get them around right here. So these guys obviously very strong, but so obviously Russia. And once they quickly conquered these areas, they will also begin to make a large push along this coast right here, which obviously is not very good for these guys, and they will begin to lose ground very, very quickly. But the pink team, surprisingly, out of all countries which are kind of being sandwiched, will somehow be able to get their act up and begin to start an invasion into these areas of Russia right here. And this obviously does not sit well, because obviously they have to pull back a lot of troops coming from here just to fend this off. But luckily, Tibet here is doing a fairly good job, and they are starting to get rid of a lot of countries that have been causing issues. Because, for example, these guys, after months of fighting, they kind of collapsed as their entire government just went bye-bye. And we also obviously see these guys right here. They kind of start getting cooked, which also makes the Russians very quickly be able to push back all of these areas right here until they're obviously completely pushed out. And then they see that they're cooked. So, agreeing, not in the best way, but mostly from the people, they just decide to surrender over to both sides because they know they're not gonna win. A fairly large amount of troops will actually begin to evacuate from these areas and actually leave a lot of these areas from, I guess, the red team and just up to here, although they do hold most of this right here, which is a little strange because once they push back, again, it's a little odd because these guys have been pushed back greatly and they just keep losing more land, even pushing a little past the Caucasus region in this area. But that would be because of a certain reason. Because they are going to absolutely steamroll Poland. Let me get rid of this for a second. That's their capital. Well, not anymore, because these guys, they decide to send a whole bunch of their army, splitting the country into two. Because this is a very risky move, because they are really leaving this area undefended, because they found that this was a good idea, because with all their threats, these guys, they're gone. So all that's left is this front right here, and this one right here. So they decided to let this one loose for a little, just so they have time to completely capitulate Poland. And with a lot of help from these guys right here, the Romans, they're able to successfully do that. And Poland, as much as they try to fight, there's kind of no hope, because obviously the Russians and a lot of help from the Romans, they are kind of getting cooked, especially while this was happening. They do make a large push from the Farmers Union, getting all the way this, so it's a lot easier to supply the Russians in this area right here. So this is still going on, obviously. And these guys, they just get overrun. Like, it's no contest. Because the Romans, they've mostly been focusing on these areas fighting very violently. But eventually that did get them that win right there. But they still are struggling with Greece, though, which is not being the most cooperative. It's even pushed them back into these areas. But that's because they've been mostly focusing on this right here. And finally, Poland does collapse as well, or in a way surrenders, because they do not want to fight anymore. And these guys, they're just surrounded. They surrender instantly. They weren't really invaded yet, because no one really cared about them, but they just decided to surrender, which is fair enough. These guys, once with these extra troops, most will be sent here to hold on this front, just while they are able to get rid of Finland, which does go very well, and they even begin to push back in these areas right here, which does go successfully. And finally, all of this right here, It's finally done pretty well. And finally, we also see the surrendering, the complete surrendering. Now this leaves only 3 countries, surprisingly. These guys, which are probably about to get steamrolled, and these 2 right here. So a little concerning, because these guys, they just kind of reopened this front, completely taking back, with a buttload of troops, they take back all of these areas right over here. So not the best. And once this is pushed back, these guys, they obviously have to pull back some troops so they can defend the homeland, which is exactly what they were hoping for. And with some trouble, they are able to get to around. What we also will see is the Anatolians right here. They want some of their old land back, and I think you know where I'm going with this. They declare war, and with the Greeks really holding back on that front, with little to no issue, they are able to get a bunch of these areas very quickly, and obviously the Romans were pleasantly surprised, and with this, they are also able to steamroll the country. I mean, they were going to anyway, but this just kind of helped them out, so they'll take it as a win. So these guys, they completely capitulate Greece, which now only leaves, they can kind of see more and more troops are just going to be sent from all sides, eventually get rid of them. So without much thinking, with one last push from these guys coming from down here, completely capturing all of this, they will decide to push as much as humanly possible. They will surrender over to the Russians, which officially ends the coalition against Russia and all of its allies. But now, I'm going to take a while to do this peace negotiation. How fun. So, there's a whole lot to talk about. So, first of all, Russia. Looking more like the Soviet, actually, no, Russian Empire, honestly, because they have Alaska and this right here. Basically, the Russian Empire just came back in a way. They've taken back a whole bunch of lands right here. We also see Anatolia take back, I guess, their former lands in a way, excluding this, but from the Greeks. The Romans, they took a big chunk from the farmers right there, as well as the Greeks right here. We also see a lot of Poland be crippled. The complete annexation of Finland, surprisingly. And a lot of these Stan countries are annexed by these guys, as well as divided up by the Tibetans. And that is going to do it for this video. This took me a while to make this whole world map, and I plan to do a whole bunch of stuff, and hopefully this video does really well, so I'm able to do more of that stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Also, please do like and subscribe, because we are trying to get to 300 subscribers. We're already at like 218-ish, so that would be very much appreciated.